All right, going to simulate a flat tire out in the field, literally out in the field, or if you're on the road, on the trail, mountain bike, road bike, no matter what it be. This happens to be my cyclocross. First thing you want to do is downshift your chain all the way down. That's right. All right, any bike, you're always going to downshift your rear cassette, get that chain into the smallest gear all the way to your right side. If you're aware, you can do this while you're slowing down, coming to a stop. So I'm just hitting that all the way down, and you're going to pedal slowly, let that chain drop down. The spring and the derailleur is going to pull that down over to the side, and you may have to do this a couple times. That's just going to move the derailleur over, making everything a lot much easier. It's making space for that cassette to drop straight down. And I'm on an incline. I'm on a bank right here, so everything's going down this way, and the bike wants to take off that way. That's all right. Down for the challenge. For the road bikes, a lot of these, this is just a quick release. There's no through axle. We'll see what makes it easier. I'm going to lift the frame up. Wheel already wants to fall down, but it's hitting the derailleur, so I'm going to grab the body. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this back. So it's a spring. You're grabbing the majority of the body, flip that back. It's opening its mouth, basically. Go ahead and drop that down. And then you're going to let all the air out of your wheel. I did not bring I don't have any air. I have no CO2 cartridge. I have no hand pump. The only thing I have is this old can of GUP. Yeah, GUP. It's a sealant, CO2 in 1. It says it's expired. We'll see how it goes. Not that far from the car, but ooh, this guy doesn't want to go. You know what? We're going to do the front tire. This one still has CO2. We're going to put this off to the side, and we're going to grab the front wheel. Now this is as a flip lever, but it's also a through axle. Flip that lever open, spin it 3 or 4 times, 4 revolutions. And this one's real fun. And then at some point, just give it a tug outward. It should pull right out. Hang on to your bike, hang on to your wheel. And you may have to wiggle and jiggle if it doesn't want to come out. Put that in a very safe, clean spot. And again, we'll get this bike out of the way. Man, it's nice working with road bikes. All right. So we're going to simulate flat wheel. Gonna let all the air out. So at this point, you are inspecting your wheel from the outside. We're going to inspect the inside as well, making sure that there's no thorns. This is a really slow one. And also, I have no tire lever. So we're gonna have to make do. There's a bunch of dry cow patties out here. So let's see what I could do. Let's see. Yeah, depending whether you have a through axle or a flip lever quick release, we can use this as a lever here. So I'm gonna take this one out, and that through axle has one too. When you do this, be very careful. You got 2 little springs. You do not want to lose them. There's an orientation to them. They're cone shaped. You want the cones facing inward towards each other. Very important. If one is backwards, or if you lose them, not a big deal. It just helps you put the wheel back on, and it levels this guy from side to side. It centers it for you. If you lose your springs, not a big deal. Everything will still function. Putting that back on there. Got my 2 coil springs and my end cap right there. So I'm going to use a tire lever. It has a slight curve to it. We want that to get underneath the tire. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to break the sidewall of the tire, the bead, away from the rim, which means you're going to use your 2 thumbs. You're going to push going this way. Boom. And if you're looking at me this way, I'm going to pull towards me. We're going to do both sides. You can hear a little, sometimes it makes noise, sometimes it doesn't. What we're doing is getting the side of the tire unstuck from the side of the rim. That's going to make the tire nice and loose, just like loosening your shoelaces on your shoe before you kick them off. All the way around on one side, flip it around, same thing. Yeah, for those little pops. And don't lose your stuff. If you lose your dust cap, I don't have a dust cap on here. If you lose your ring, if you have press the valve, don't worry about it. Those 2, you can get by without them. I actually run without them, unless you're running tubeless. If you're running tubeless, you do need that ring. That is absolutely 100% needed. So have the curvature, it's going like this. I'm gonna come in this way. Actually, I'm gonna flip it around. I'm gonna go in towards the tire. I'm gonna come in between a spoke. This is a Crank Brothers rim. It's got very minimal spokes. So this is metal, so we do want to be very careful. If you have a carbon rim, being extra careful. You don't want to crack or chip anything. This is an aluminum rim. I'm not too worried about it. And this guy is not very sharp, which is a good thing and bad thing, depending how tight your tire is. All right, I got that in there. So once it's in there, instead of starting to pull this way, left or right, I'm gonna push this through all the way. This is going to help. You're gonna leverage this tire lever to the max. So I'm gonna pull through with this hand, and I'm gonna push through. So I'm coming towards me, pushing with this hand towards me, this hand's pulling towards me as hard as I can. Oh yeah, I'm not worried about hurting the lever or hurting the tire. These tires are gonna last longer than we can, or you're probably gonna break skin or draw blood or get a blister. Just making sure there's no cows sneaking up on me. So I got this actually popped open nicely. So this is a good idea to do this at home. You can see what kind of tire you have. Is it a tight tire? Is it a loose tire? Do I need one lever? Do I need 3 levers? Because you can use 3 levers all at once. Place them all in. Do not flip them and lock them to your spoke. Don't do that. Just set it in, skip a spoke, go in between the spokes, insert your next lever, insert your next lever. So boom, 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 skipping a spoke. Then you're gonna flip all 3 levers down at the same time. So usually the best way is to stand up. One hand's gonna push 2, the other one's gonna push 1. Boom, grab that 1 lever and then just start pushing. Or you're gonna do that push through tip I told you, push through all the way up this side. It's gonna tear more tire off and make it much easier for you. So some people like to run their fingers and get the rest of this bead off. I don't like taking that chance, just in case there's something sharp in there. If you're running a steel bead, it could be steel inside here, then maybe it's fraying if it's an old tire. So I'm going to start pulling the tube out, and I'm not worried about the stem. I'm going to do that last. All right, so the stem is here, got all my tube out here. I'm just gonna, the open side of the tires on this side, I'm gonna pull this back, going this way, pull this screwdriver back up, grab that tube, pull as hard as you can. You're not gonna hurt the tire, you're not gonna hurt the tube. If now's the time to use some aggression, yeah, now's the time. So once you have that done, you're gonna run your fingertips inside of the tire very gently, just in case there is a sharp object still stuck inside there. So as I'm rotating, I'm getting a visual here. So I'm rotating this way and I'm looking. If you see any cuts, you see any thorns, pieces of glass, you want to stop. If there's a cut, you're going to pinch that open. It's going to actually open up for you. You're going to pick the crap out, or pick out whatever's there. So I'm rotating, and take your time on this. Do 2 or 3 runs, because if there's something still stuck in there and you miss it, it will possibly pop your tube a couple miles down the road. And then once you're in there, you're going to look at your rim too. So the rim here, right now this is a tubeless rim. I have no liner. It's all solid. There's no spoke holes. Spoke holes are drilled in there from the factory. Those should be covered with some form of tape or cloth tape, nylon, whatever it may be, just to protect the tube from any sharp edges of the hole. So mine doesn't have any holes. It is a tubeless specific rim, so that's a nice luxury. But you always want to make sure that no spoke holes are exposed, because it could pop the tube from underneath. Once that looks good, I'm going to go ahead and find my stem hole, which is right down here. Call this my 6 o'clock. You're going to grab your new tube, pull it out of your bag or whatever. Usually unfold it. I like to put a little bit of air in the system in your tube. And this is just, main thing is we just don't want the tube all twisted. You're going to throw it down. Holes here, stem here, we're lining all that up. I'm going to put a little air pressure. Sometimes I'll just do that with my mouth, but there's some wet stuff coming out here, so I'm not worried about it. But tube looks in pretty good shape. It's not all twisted. You're just going to reverse order. You're going to open side of the tire here, peel back, insert your valve. Once your valve's in there, you're just going to start tucking. Pull the tire up, push that in, and just work your way around. And if you're agile enough, you're not on an incline like I am, you can kind of get in the seated position. Oh, this would be tough, especially in these shoes. Yeah, I'm already rolling downhill. But you can use your legs as a table, and then just tuck, rotate the wheel, and then tuck. So here's my valve hole. Not too worried where it's at right now. You can start anywhere, but I'm going to start tucking in, and I'm doing it in this position. And I'm using these two thumbs. I'm using my palm, using the calluses here, or you're going to make calluses. Push that in. You may have to push also the bead in, and just start working your way around. When you do this enough times, you can go simultaneously, work your way all the way around. Wow. I think I'll go ahead and sit back down. The tube comes out, just go ahead and tuck it in as you go. You can use your tire lever, very gently tucking it in. You don't want to pinch the tube on accident, but just continue. And wherever you start, you're just kind of continuing that piece. And then now I have an open section right here. So you don't want to start in the middle. You want to start on one edge or the other. You're going to take small bites, 1 inch at a time. So if I have this section here, I'll start on this side, slowly work my way over, getting a small bite inside and inside. Try not to use your tire lever. That's your last resort, especially if you have a really tight tire. When you stick that tire lever inside, you could accidentally pinch your tube at the same time. So when you go to put air, you'll find out real quick that it's not holding. So I've got this open section here. So I'm going to be very careful. So I'm open from here to here. I'm going to go ahead and this tube is a big rubber band. I'm going to be applying these hands here, coming outward, stretching, pulling, never releasing tension. Whatever looseness there is, I'm going to take it all the way to the bottom where my opening is. And you got to be kind of aggressive. It's going to be rough on the hands, especially if you got knobbies on your tire. And as you come down to the opening, go ahead and stop. I get in this awesome position, and then just boom. That one just, this is kind of a loose tire, so it kind of popped in. You might have to do this twice. Come around, boom, again, 1 inch at a time. Once you get here, one hand's going to help the other. Boom, come over, work it, pops right in. All else fails, you can use the lever. Just be very careful when you put it in there. You can get it done. Just be careful you don't go in too far and hit tube. You just want that lever to touch and brace off of the rim, not pinch the tube between the rim and the lever. So you're good to go. Just want to make sure, check the other side, make sure the bead is still on. Looks good, do a visual. I'll run my hand because sometimes I do this too quick, and if it's a loose fitting tire, the other side might have popped off. You don't see that. You go and put your air in there, especially if you're using a CO2 cartridge or you're at home and you have an air compressor. It'll fill up really quick. The tube's going to find that opening, bulge out, possibly blow up. You ever blow up a tube? Well, because after you got finished doing a repair, most likely a section of the tire opened and the tube found it and tried to escape and basically exploded. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this GUP. Plastic cup comes off. I'll make sure to pick that up. This has a rubber booty. There's nothing to it. That's the cap or booty. I'll put that back. And it looks like it's about the same size as my Presta. I'm assuming they're still making this. GUP. Has a holder right here. This is, you can strap this to your bike and it'll hang on to it. So it says to have it in this position. Make sure your Presta valve is open. So if you have a little tiny screw, make sure that's unscrewed. Make sure it's loose and wobbly. That means it's ready to receive air. And then, so here's where that ring comes in. So when I go to push this valve may want to disappear up and in. So as it goes in, I can actually push from the other side, keep it down. But that's where, if you have that ring, you can put the ring on there. Put the ring on very loosely. Don't do this tight. If you tighten up the ring, all it's going to do is want to suck this valve downward, possibly exposing your tube on this edge, bringing it underneath the tire. So then it's actually exposing the tube where you can see it on the side. So when you go to put air, that tube is going to want to bulge out the side, kind of like a herniated disc, and it will possibly pop. So not too tight. If when in doubt, you can loosen up your ring, give this guy a push upward. You want that to be fairly loose, up and down. But for now, I'm just going to put my hand here and hope I don't have to walk back to the car. and hopefully it doesn't spray at me. I'm just gonna give it a hard push upward. A pain in the butt. I'm gonna look away. I hear something. Something. What?
Away.
That's something. Awesome. Maybe this is all that is. Quick fix, sealant, and inflator. No, it was supposed to inflate as well. Ah, sheesh. I'm gonna guess that this thing is a dud. The CO2 must have just gave way, leaked out. All right, I will be riding on a front wheel back in the dirt trail on a flat tire because I hate walking. Well, I hate walking in riding shoes. Well, the sun's just about to go down over on the mountain over there to my west. Yeah, this thing's toast. Useless. It's been in my bag for several years. Could flip it upside down if you feel comfy doing that. Get my skewer ready. This is my through axle. This bike has a 15mm through axle for the front, and this is kind of, I guess they made this bike in that transition year when they weren't sure they were going to do full through axle. It's kind of like when they first came out with disc brakes. They gave you the setup on the frame to run your caliper, but it still came with V brakes. So notice how I just kind of did a little bit of kind of easy shaking, pushing, rattling while I'm trying to work this, just kind of gently jiggling stuff into place. And still gonna do that. Yeah, there goes the sun. All right. And just make sure you have good pressure when you close this. This is a funky through axle quick release swivel. I never did like this thing. I'm just going to close this wherever. But I do want decent pressure. Usually you're facing these, you can face them straight up, vertical or backwards. It can go anywhere. But if someone's going to look at you, and they might judge you if you have it pointing forward and going, oh my God, you're going to catch a branch. Okay, back tire. So, all right, let's get this, don't lose your springs, take your end off. So I got my end cap here, got my cone. Cone is shaped like this. It's always going inward. They're facing towards each other in that direction. If you lose them, again, not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and actually put it on. So levers usually go on the left side if you're sitting on the bike. In this case, it's going on the rotor side. And then we got my spring. So the smaller diameter of the spring is making contact to your wheel, to your hub. And then just thread this on a couple turns, leave a nice big opening, a couple revolutions. All right, and then getting this back on. So yeah, I'm doing this all by my lonesome. So I got a few things to get this done. So I'm getting the cassette in between the chain. So you have an opening of the chain. Your cassette is getting in between here. The top of the chain, you're going to make the gear touch the top of the chain there. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and sit there. And then I will go ahead, I'm going to push down on the back of the cage here. There's a pulley wheel. I'm going to push down on this guy. Usually this will just drop, but this is a really tight GRX setup, and the frame is a little bulky, so it all kind of rubs on each other. Yeah, and the chain's digging in nicely. Let me come over here. Much better. Now you could have the bike lean on you. So this guy, you're going to be pushing downward. You can even pull back a little bit. If you move it too much, it's going to move over and get in the way of the cassette. So, come on, baby. Yeah, you can tell I work quite a bit in a repair stand and not in the field. I haven't had to do a flat tire Whatever, there we go. All right, so I got past the halfway point. I'm almost home. Now I just have to worry about the rotor getting into the caliper. All right, be gentle. Try and be gentle as you can when that rotor does get in between the caliper. And then I seem to be in here. So bike is standing straight up and down, even though I'm slanted on a hill. Give this guy a couple of whacks. And I do that for vibration purposes, so the wheel or the axle will find its home flat. We don't want the wheel sitting crooked or cockeyed. So give it a wiggle left and right. Do not pick up the frame. You will lose your wheel. Weight of the bike down, standing straight up and down. A couple of hits there. And if you did not unloosen your skewer very much, your lever should just have the same pressure, but mine got loose. So I'm balancing the bike a bit, straight up and down, holding one side, turning the other, quarter turn, half turn, giving it a close. That's too loose, another quarter turn. Maybe another quarter. All right, now we got some pressure. When you close it in a spot where you can get your fingers back on it. Try not to close it against your frame. All right, so that's pretty good. Lift up that back wheel, give it a spin. Make sure it's spinning freely. You're not hitting the frame, you're not hitting your brakes. If you're a caliper brake, you can pivot that so you're not rubbing anymore. Test your brake, make sure, boom, brake's working, ready to get back on the road and get the heck out of here. And it's getting dark. Okay, we're good to go. Front wheel's flat, so I will have fun walking or going extremely slow on the dirt trail back to the car. So I'm trying this GUP again. They don't give me good directions, they gave me pictures, so I flipped the yellow cap around and it's working. Yeah, so it's giving me some pressure. Come on, get me home, Bubba. Yeah. And most of the time, well, this is a pretty big can, but most of the time there's these CO2 cartridges. They're not going to blow your tire up. You're going to get a great amount of pressure most of the time, but not enough to like blow your tire up. So, but this is a big can again. You know, usually I'm talking like a 12 ounce, 16 ounce. Depends on the size of your tire too. That's actually decent. I'm good, yeah. Thank you. That was nice of them. Probably just talking to myself in the middle of a field. But that's actually really good. Okay, I take back whatever I was going to say about GUP, but like I said, it's expired, so I'm pretty happy it works. Yeah, so all I did was take this off, flip it around. It just has a bunch of warnings in different languages, and it has pictures of what to do, and the picture looks like you can't really see what the tip is doing, and I hope it stops foaming because I have to put this in my bag. And yeah, best before 3/20/20. Yeah. All right, don't forget to tighten up your press valve because that sucker wants to leak out. All right, and until we meet again.